Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Parent-Teacher Organization Conference BOE Candidate Forum. We're so excited that you've all joined us tonight in person, finally, first time since COVID. Welcome also to the 4 candidates running for the board. My name is Sherry Mahfouz. I am the co-president of PTOC, along with Abby Spells. Starting well. I'd like to thank the rest of the PTOC Executive Board as well as Ed Center staff for their help and support of this forum. The PTOC received many questions for this forum. We'll try to cover as many topics as possible. Before the forum, we pick names out of the hat for the initial order for tonight, and then we will rotate from there. We have a video of it, so if anybody wants to see the video, just let us know.
To all the Millburn Board of Education candidates, welcome to tonight. On behalf of the community, know that your willingness to serve is greatly appreciated. As you know, BOE positions are nonpartisan and unpaid. This year, voters may vote for up to 3 candidates to fill 3 open positions. Welcome to Noel Bigman, Asaf Farashuddin, Christian P. Germa, and Brian G. Lawrence. As a reminder, per New Jersey state law outlining Code of Ethics and New Jersey School Boards Association, the key roles for a Board of Education member are policy, planning through the board's approval of the budget and curriculum, and oversight of the superintendent. BOE members also represent the public during collective bargaining, during contract negotiations, and serve as a communications conduit between the community and the school system.
Before we begin, we would like to mention that there was a 5th candidate, Howard Wachtel. Here is the statement that he provided. I just want to provide an update on my candidacy in Millburn BOE. As some of you already know, I recently decided for personal reasons to remove my name from consideration for the BOE. Earlier this month, I submitted a request to the Essex County Board of Elections to remove my name from the ballot. But I was told it was too late to do so, even though the ballots had not yet been printed. I've spoken to each of the other candidates and made them aware of the same. I want to ensure that all votes cast are for one or more of the other candidates, who I think are all strong advocates for keeping this district on a positive trajectory. Finally, to the current members of the BOE and those of you aspiring to be on the BOE, a huge debt of gratitude for the amount of time you are taking to improve and modernize this school district. We have some of the smartest and most talented children in the state, alongside some of the best teachers. There's no reason we can't continue to make reasonable reforms to certain stale policies to improve the overall welfare of our kids. I'll be rooting for you.
Before we start, one other quick note. We are recording this to help hopefully share later. So please be respectful of our candidates and keep the noise to a minimum so that we can be sure to hear them. So we appreciate that. To begin, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to provide an opening statement. The speaking order is as follows: Noel, Christian, Asaf, and Brian. We'll rotate who will speak first for each question, so everyone will have the opportunity to answer first.
Our colleagues, our Vanna Whites of the evening, will be running the timers. They will share a paper signal when there is 30 seconds left, again when there are 15 seconds remaining, and then a stop sign when the time is up. The candidate may finish their thought and then must end their statement.
With that out of the way, Noel, please provide us with your 2-minute opening statement.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Noel Bigman. I am a township resident for over 20 years in the Vernon Shore Hills. My wife, Tamara, who's here, actually worked in a volunteer capacity at each of the schools for the past 15 years with each of the PTOs. And we have 3 children that have gone all the way from the integrated preschool all the way successfully through high school. And each one of the students has a different journey, but we could say, pretty much across the board, we've been excited by every single one of their progress throughout. I decided last year to run for the Board of Education because I was actually impressed with the amount of progress that was being made from a stance of making positive change. And what I realized was, throughout the 20 years that we've lived here, while we've been involved, obviously through our children, through their education, through my wife's involvement with the PTOs, I realized that it actually does take a lot of work to make sure that the district and the school district are moving in the right direction. Last year, when I watched the election, I noticed that we had a contested election. We had 5 individuals running for 3 positions. And it was probably one of the first times that I noticed that we actually had a choice in candidates. There were many years that I had voted 3 spots open and 3 people I selected. Sometimes I knew them, sometimes I didn't. Last year, I actually researched all of the candidates, and I was excited that we had choice, and we have choice for positivity and change for our entire school district.
Thank you, Bill. Christian?
Good evening. My name is Germa. I am 54 and I have been a resident of Millburn for more than 10 years now, grown in Millburn by the exceptional reputation of its schools. I have 4 boys who have graduated from Millburn High School in recent years, and our youngest is currently a freshman at MHS. Professionally, I am lucky enough to be semi-retired after a career in project finance. And over the past 20 years, I have also served as an independent board member for several successful public and private companies, where I've contributed to and chaired audit and risk and nominating and compensation committees. I have been deeply involved in our community. I have taught Sunday school for many years at my church and regularly volunteered as a chaperone for community service and mission trips. So I understand tonight that you are here to find out why you should vote for me on November 5th. I let you decide, but I'd like to share 3 key reasons. The first one is that I believe I have a vision for the school district. I bring a different and an independent perspective, but I am also fully supportive of the changes that have been initiated since last January, and I believe that we have to continue to build on them. I also believe that I have the skills needed to fully commit to this role with my experience as parent, as independent board member, and my semi-retired position. Finally, I believe that I have the mindset to approach challenges rationally and collaboratively. One of the board key goals this year is to strengthen engagement with the district and the community. I am fully on board with that.
Thank you. My name is Asaf Farashuddin. I've lived in Millburn for 12 years with my family. I have 2 children. One has been in the district and another is a high schooler. And we love it here. We have volunteered. We've worked, in athletics, youth athletics, robotics. I have volunteered as an admissions interviewer for Stanford University. And during that time, I have interviewed at least 60 or more high school seniors from Millburn, as well as from other top schools around our local area. I grew up in Boston, and I went to Boston Public School where I was a very ordinary student. Here's my report card from 3rd grade. It has a bunch of B's and C's. But this is why I'm so committed about our district and serving, because a committed district with, teachers who are supportive, with counselors who show you the way, and schools that open pathways and let you take courses, they can take an ordinary student. And I went to Bowdoin College and I got my MBA from Stanford University. That is the power of a public school district. And we have that power here at Millburn. We have amazing schools. We have incredible committed teachers. We have really smart students, and we have involved parents. We need to bring all of that together and use that power to unlock the opportunity for all of our learners. And so I am proud of everything we've achieved on the board so far, opening AP access and the grading policy, but we have a lot more to do. I would personally like to improve STEM offerings in middle school and high school. I'd like to offer middle school sports and counseling in the elementary school. I'm also working with local companies to offer mentorship and volunteer opportunities for our high schoolers. We have a lot more to do to unlock the power, and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Right.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Lawrence, and I'm proud to be here before you today as a candidate for re-election to the Millburn Board of Education. Over the past 10 years, my wife and I have cherished the exceptional education of our children, Jonah and Emma. Jonah, who's in 10th grade, and Emma, who's in 7th grade. They have received an outstanding achievement throughout this district and learning throughout the years that they've been here. As a current board member, a member of the Governance Committee, and chair of the Finance and Facilities Committee, I've been actively involved in driving significant positive changes that enhance the educational experience for all students. During my tenure, I've focused on implementing effective budgets that allow us to make critical infrastructure improvements. I'm proud to have played a role in expanding advanced placement access, improving our grading scale for college placement, enhancing safety and security across our schools. Mental health resources have also seen an increase over the past couple of years, reflecting my belief in a holistic approach to education. I envision a future where every student thrives, where access to STEM and the arts is not just an aspiration, but a reality, where elementary instructional supervisors play a vital role, and where equitable grading practices ensure fairness for all. If re-elected, I will prioritize these initiatives and continue to foster a safe and inclusive learning environment so that together we can ensure that our schools not only meet the current standards and needs, but also be equipped to adapt to the future challenges. I'm committed to working collaboratively with parents, educators, and community members to build on our successes and tackle the challenges ahead. Thank you so much for coming out today and for your consideration.
Thank you, everyone, for your opening statements. We are going to begin with our questions. For all the questions, you will have 90 seconds to answer with 30 seconds for a follow-up. So we'll go everybody 90 seconds and then 30 seconds for anybody who would like a follow-up. Just a gentle reminder that we are recording it, so please, with no microphone, so please, if you can kind of just make sure your voice is projected, that would be great. So the first question, Christian, we're going to start with you. What is the #1 job of the board as a whole? And what would your personal top 3 priorities be?
So the role of the board is to set priorities and to hold the superintendent accountable. And when I say hold the superintendent accountable, I mean not to take over his or her responsibilities. My top 3 priorities for the Board of Education during my mandate, I would say first would be to bring our district together. I strongly believe that we agree on a lot of things. And despite that, I feel that there is some nervousness or some divisiveness in the air. And I strongly believe that uniting parents, students, teachers, and the board through transparent and collaborative decision making will be key. Second goal is unlocking flexible learning pathways. And the third goal would be enhancing STEM education. I have 90 seconds and I see the timekeeper saying that I have to stop. But I mean, I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort to present my objective in detail, not through just a couple of catchphrases. And to present detailed information, data, and proposal. So I encourage you to go to my website where I put everything, christiangerma4be.com.
Thank you.
And I welcome your feedback.
Thank you so much. You'll have a 30-second follow-up.
Yeah.
Sure. The #1 priority of the board, of the job of the board as a whole, is to pass student-focused policies and to take into account the input of the parents, the learners, and the teachers and staff, and to pass good policy. An example is the expansion of AP Access and the new grading policy, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point in the day. In terms of my top 3 priorities, #1, it is to expand the STEM offerings in the middle school and high school and to create pathways, offer more electives. It is to enhance the middle school and elementary school experience. I talked about middle school sports. That's really important to me. I talked about elementary guidance. That made a huge difference in my life, and it can do so here. And my top, how do we get there? We get there. My third priority is building a strategic plan. We need a plan. We need a mission statement. How about Millburn is the best school district in America? How about that? Let's aspire, let's aim high, and let's get everyone together. Let's get students and teachers, parents, and educators all working together towards that aspiration and build a 5-year plan to get there. That is what I want to do on the board. Thank you.
So in my mind, the number one job of the board as a whole is to make sure that every student in the district thrives, whatever that means to that student. Whether, and I will list the 8 priorities, but I'll narrow down to 3. Well, for everybody to thrive, what that means in STEM or in the arts, so whatever it means for that student, we want to make sure that we create an environment for every student, no matter what their background is or what their focus is to thrive in the district. And then my top 3 priority is further access to AP classes. We've made a huge improvement over the past couple of years, which is wonderful, but we have some more to go. I mean, my own daughter, I know they created pathways and prerequisite grades to get into classes, but they could go further. I think they dropped something. She's in 6th grade on the 7th, and she wanted to get an accelerated in ELA. And so instead of it was 94, the cutoff was 92, but she got a 90. That shouldn't be. Somebody who really wants to pursue and move things forward, they should have the ability to access those accelerated AP classes without any issues. The other things, I know I'm running out of time, would be increasing grade and fairness. People that get 5s on AP testing should have an equivalent A in their grades. So we got to work on that and get that established. Another one, which I mentioned earlier, is to make sure there's good pathways for STEM and arts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy I looked at the Board of Education website this afternoon because it had the answer to the question. The priority is to make sure that the schools run well. So in that regard, I have to again thank the Board because researching everything I learned, it's not an easy task to do this. And as you go down each letter, you start to hear things that Brian's speaking about, Asaf speaking about. And honestly, I think we as the public, we only get a sliver of really all the information that's available when they're making these tough decisions as representatives on our behalf. In terms of priorities, more specifically, I really think I have to say that I think we have to restore our pride in our community. And, I know pride means a lot of different things to different people, but I also am on a lot of these WhatsApps and I see, basically what Christian's talking about, maybe some of the things that you all feel. And I do think that there's something easy that we could do. The best way to sum all this up is when I did the superintendent search questionnaire, there was one question that stood out to me. It was, whether the district's going in the right direction. And I wanted to answer absolutely yes. I think that's one of our priorities is that we mostly all say, yes, it's heading in the right direction.
Thank you. So now we have a 30-second follow-up. Christian, do you have anything to add?
No, once again, Christian for and because I check the traffic on the website, don't hesitate to click on the hyperlinks because there are a lot of data information.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually agree with 2 of my colleagues up here. I agree with Noel on the pride. That's why I said, why not make us the #1 school district in the country? And I agree with Brian on the grading. We've looked at the data. Our students are amazing. They do amazing on standardized testing. What needs to be reflected is their actual grading in the classroom. So I think there's more work to be done there.
I think we covered it, but just to add, we all need to work together on this. Educators, students, administration, board members, PTOs, It takes a village to make this successful.
No?
Yeah, we can talk about specifics like AP access and, I've been going to board meetings for probably 2 years now, or watch them online. And, I have to say, I think the progress in the last couple of years is more than I've seen in, 20 years that I've lived here. Even though every board has incrementally done something good for our entire community, I think right now we have the ability to continue that positive change. And like I agree the most, we should all come together to do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So before we go on to our next question, just to be clear, we're going to ask that you don't turn to the next question until we. No, you can turn now.
Okay.
And speaking of some of the chats, we're going to start with Asaf. To what extent do you feel the many WhatsApp and other chat groups discussing BOE and school policies have been helpful to advancing productive discourse? And to what extent do you find them problematic? Have they changed your position on any issues at all?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I got it first, but that's great. Look, WhatsApp and all of these, they're very helpful to pick up the sentiment of where, the citizens are. Now, the interesting thing is there's certain voices that are very loud. And what I have noticed is the topic changes based on what was last year versus this year. It's all about the new grading policy. Last year, it was about AP access. The year before, it was about kind of harsh grading. So look, it kind of varies. I do find it helpful to pick up the sentiment. What's not helpful is when you have personal attacks. I don't think there's any room for that. I was trained by someone at my office, which is before you send an angry email, send it to yourself first and read it the next morning and then think about what you want to do. Have I changed my position? Yeah, absolutely. I think you want to hear from the citizen, and a lot of times it does open my eye. Maybe I didn't look at it this way. Maybe we need to consider another point of view. So, overall, I think it's a helpful indicator of sentiment.
Sure. So my background professional, I'm a president CEO of a nonprofit aging service organization, and I have over 1,000 employees. We serve over 5,000 seniors throughout New Jersey. So I work with a lot of people, a lot of personalities, a lot of opinions. So I get it. And I agree with Asaf what you're saying. I'm on the WhatsApp group, 2 of them. So it's great to hear and listen to what people are saying, so you can incorporate that into your way of thinking and understand those perspectives. Of course, I'd like to be a little bit more fair and balanced. Also, I think a better spot would be for them to come to board meetings, voice their concerns, share that with everyone. The board members, the educators, administrators, and the people that are listening. Again, we all got to work together on this, but we got to be fair and reasonable and work together to accomplish and to be successful.
Yeah, so I've posted on these WhatsApps and I find it very scary when you enter into them. But I also think that they are very valuable because they allow each of the people in our community that are on there to participate in freedom of speech and have an opinion. And what I realized throughout is, some of the opinions are like, some of them are not like so much, but the reality is every opinion is valuable. Right? The point about freedom of speech is that we should be taking all of these comments from, you've heard it before, some of the smartest people in the world. We should be bringing them together to create a collaboration that's better for our students. And I don't want to sound too cliche or salesy, but I do think that there are synergies, and those synergies are like a 1 + 1 = 3. I think we could achieve that. I think we do achieve that. I mean, you look at our ranking, you look at our student outcomes, you look at our success in our community. None of that's changed any of my policies or on any issues. I think it's enhanced it because I had to learn each of the constituents' roles in the whole process. I learned what the Board of Education does. I learned what the administrators do. I learned what the teachers do. I know obviously what the students and parents do, but I do believe everybody should swim in their own lane and bring this all together.
Well, I am a strong advocate of free speech, period. And I also find these groups very useful. I'll just give you an example. I met Dr. Myron earlier this year to ask for an exception for my son, which was doubling geometry and algebra 2 in 9th grade. And I told him immediately, if you give my son an exception, I'll make it public. With these WhatsApp groups, I couldn't have done that. And I'm happy that it went public and that several parents that I didn't know were also able to benefit from this opportunity. At the same time, these forums or groups or whatever should not replace district organized consultation and collaboration. And I understand that during election periods, I mean, we are all here sitting saying that we want transparency, fact-based policies, that we want stakeholder collaboration, blah, blah, blah. The truth is that I have personally sometimes been disappointed in the past. So that's why I made a specific proposal to improve the situation. And I know that it does not please everyone, but for instance, I would strongly encourage the Board of Education as well as the administration to publish policy drafts before final decisions are made. That's something that would be very useful.
Thank you. Asaf, would you like to do a 30-second follow-up?
Yes, I will do a follow-up on two quick things. The board actually has policy readings, 2 readings of every policy. So it is part of our transparency. That's how we do it. The second is that we want to hear from everyone. You know, I run a software division, even though I was a political science major, so a little scary. I talk to my customers that give me the worst feedback because I want to hear from them. What can I do better? And I think that's the principle. So that's my follow-up. Thank you.
No, I just think there was anything else in that. I think at the end of the day, this is again all about our children, the students that we serve. So it's important not only to hear from all the parents, but also create other opportunities to hear from the students. Like something that we added, the student liaison position at the board meetings. That's something that was put in place over the past couple of years, and I find that extremely successful and helpful as we make our decisions.
Thank you. No?
Yeah, so I was just thinking 2 last things on WhatsApp. One was similar to Asaf. Somebody told me where I work, if I wanted to keep my job, that I should make sure what I write, if you're comfortable with, if it shows up on the cover of the New York Times. And I do think that's a good guideline for people to follow, because I think it'll actually help institute some civility and acceptance of opinions. So that's it.
And just like 2 additional examples. Option 2 and expansion of AP access that was mentioned earlier. That was a good thing. I am pretty sure that if the guidelines changes had been submitted to public feedback in advance, we would have avoided mistakes, or at least we would have had immediately a better guidelines and better policies. That's what I am talking about when I say publishing policy drafts.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We would hope your packets to question 3. Brian, you're gonna start this round. There are 5 K-4 elementary schools. How would you balance allowing for their unique personalities while maintaining some level of consistency and parity between the schools?
Good luck, Brian.
Elaborate what you mean by personality?
They're all unique and they're all a little different and they do things a little differently, which is great. They're different sizes, they're different administrations, so they're all a little bit different, which is good. You need a little bit of personality.
Okay. I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. A little about the elementary schools, which I find very important. One is 2 things. One is class sizes. And I don't know if you're aware of this, kindergarten is like 20, And then first to third is 23, and then go up to fourth grade, it's 26. What I would like to see is make it more consistent from first to fourth and all to be 23. One that's better for the students and the teachers. And also, I don't know if anybody realizes this, but when you go from 23 to 26, that means there's collapsing of classes and structures. Teachers get moved around. Teachers may have to reshift to another school. It just doesn't bode well for the students and the program. The other piece is supporting kindergarten aides, which I think is very important. Chatham Livingston does this. We should do it as well. Not full-time, but part-time like they do it. So that way, during the initial kindergarten years, it's so critical to have that extra support during the curriculum time. And the additional free time and special time, you don't need the support, but that morning time could be really essential to really help them learn and grow and transition into the elementary school.
Yeah, so through my research of each of the levels of school, I've heard varying things, but obviously a lot of people focus on high school, right? Because it's closest to college outcomes, and that's important to most people. Then they start talking about middle school, and they go towards pathways and tracking and different types of limited opportunities as you progress into high school. And then they talk about elementary schools, right? And I think they talk about them in that order, at least to me they have, mainly because they're talking about the highest issues or the most prominent things to discuss to the least prominent things to discuss. And when we talk about personalities of each of the elementary schools, I think they are unique in some extent, but I also do think that it's shared. We have things like the PTOs that obviously work with each of those. We have things that support each of the students. We have things that are equivalent. But, I mean, I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, but I did see the instructional supervisor, from the board addressing some sort of rumors this week. And, frankly, I was kind of surprised because, if you think about it in that order, I really don't think we have as many issues. And I think the satisfaction by parents and students in the elementary schools is as high as it possibly can be. So, my gist on that would be, if something's not broken, don't touch it. Try not to fix it.
I'll be short on this one. I have yet to meet someone who doesn't love our elementary schools. I love them as far as my children boys' experience was concerned. So I know I would say that would not be on my top priority to try to change things, even if improvements are always possible. And I have to say, for the specific question that I was asked, I have never heard of any issues about the level of consistency and parity between our elementary schools. So I don't know.
Okay, so I have proposed, and I'm very passionate about counseling in the elementary school. I think it actually serves both of these really well. It would allow the counselors to get to know the unique buildings and the personalities and actually the students. And again, I'm glad I brought my elementary school report card because in the back it says, Asaf needs help reading. Now, this was a counselor and a teacher that realized that I couldn't read because I was an immigrant. It was the knowledge of English. And I went from Asaf needs help reading to, learning rhetoric at Bowdoin College. In terms of the counselors, they would help with each building. And at the same time, being part of the overall counseling department, they would implement consistent policies. I think we do need to start in the elementary school. We need to start helping our kids reach their full potential. And as I say, unlock the power of Millburn. And, I think the counseling would really make a big difference and go a really long way in our elementary school. It certainly did for me. So thank you.
Brian, would you like to do a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Elementary schools are on the top of the state. Again, they're so wonderful. The teachers, the educators, the principals, I think they all do a fabulous job. I also want to stress again about the elementary instructional supervisors, how critical and important they are to each of the elementary schools. Not only do they curriculum development, but social and behavior support, and really collaborate with the principals to make sure they really do an integrated, holistic model that truly works for the students and the teachers. So I think we should continue supporting them and make sure that they stay in place for the benefit of the students.
Yeah, just, back to the first points that I made, I would just add, I think in terms of personalities, there are things like ASEs and after-school programs. Those things could be designed for the individual elementary schools, but in terms of consistency, obviously I would focus on curriculum just to make sure that each of the elementary schools have like a level set before the students move into the middle school.
Two of my boys learned English actually at Glenwood. Everyone there was adorable, and so I used my time to personally thank them for the dedication and the nice work.
Yeah, I want to build on what Noel said. I think, programs like it all begins in elementary school. That is the foundation. And think about what it means as a parent. Think back to your, I am giving up my child for the first time in my life and in her life. They're going to an elementary school. What's happening? What are they learning? What are they eating for lunch? So it all begins there. And I firmly believe that putting guidance and resources in there will help. So thank you for asking the question.
Excellent. Question number 4, lucky number 4. I will start with Noel. What is your philosophy on what a public school education should be? And how close do you see Millburn to that ideal? What would you change to ensure all students benefit from the district?
Okay, so this question is easy for me because this gets back to the reason why I'm running. In terms of a public school education, I find, again, Millburn to be one of the top school districts in the country. It's obviously why a lot of us move here. A lot of us value the teachers and the credentials that each of our students receive. I think that the public school system should lift all students up, which means that all students should be provided with an education that maximizes their potential and their opportunities for success in their lives. I think that the administration and the teachers are obviously responsible for that every single day, day in and day out. And I think that the Board of Education should be involved by setting policies that achieve that end result. I know a couple of years ago, I saw a petition. I think it was signed by 2,000 families in our district. And it was just pleading for positive change. It was looking for outcome changes that benefit all of our students. It wasn't focused on one sliver. It wasn't focused on another. It was focused on all. And that's what I would hope to achieve if I was elected to the Board of Ed.
Thank you, Christian.
Well, I don't think that being a public school changes much. Being a public school is often mentioned as an excuse for not improving things or not offering the best of opportunities to our students. I believe there is no reason why we could not be as competitive and welcoming and desirable as the expensive private school in the area. So what would I change to ensure that all students benefit from the district schools? And it brings me back to my priorities. I said, I can take it a little bit, unlocking flexible learning pathways. I think our district has progress to make in empowering students to personalize their educational journey with open access to classes, Excel or AP, in and outside our schools. They should be able to have individual pathways as well as seamless mobility across programs. Other objective would be ensuring grading fairness and grading being smart, as was mentioned earlier, and I hope we come back to that, enhancing STEM education. And the last thing is keeping health and well-being at the heart of our education system.
All right, well, I was going to say, talking about uplifting all students, but Noel already took that line. So, look, a public school should really unlock the potential of all students, whether you are taking 12 AP classes and a math class at UPenn on the weekends, and there are kids who do that, or whether you are an IAP or a kid who gets counseling or special ed. One of the reasons I talk about my third grade and elementary school counseling, I was actually a special ed student. I got speech therapy. And look at where I am now. Look at where I'm sitting. This is the power of what public education can do for every child. And for me, the most important thing, the one thing I would change, I want our students to feel happy. I want them to be joyful. I agree with Noel. There should be pride. You know, I want kids to graduate and say, you know what? I went to Millburn. It was really hard work, but I loved it. It was the best 4 years of my life. That is what I would like to have. Thank you.
Sure. In my mind, philosophy of public school is to prepare children or students for society, right? For college. Make sure there's the proper rigor, but it has to be balanced with everything else. Again, a holistic approach. You got to focus on the mental health of those students and make sure that, you know, it's not all stressful and creating anxiety. That's something that our current board is working on. Something that I firmly believe in is to strike that balance and give people the opportunity to learn and to grow. And for example, returning the assessments back was a huge priority for us, something that we heard for many years throughout the district here. That's done now, right? People get assessment back, they get to learn what they did wrong, they get to improve themselves. The new policy for summative tests, the 2-3 tests a year, another great opportunity. I've heard so many wonderful comments from students and teachers and parents saying, oh my God, my child feels so much better now that she can or he can know that, hey, if I don't do as well, I can learn what I did wrong, take the back and improve my grade. So again, that balance between education and rigor and learning and the balance to be more holistic and mental health and feel good about going to school every day, that's what we need to focus on and make sure that they're prepared for the future.
No, just follow up.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. This board's made a lot of change in a very short period of time. And I hope all of it's positive. I believe it to be positive. But I think it's a little bit early to take victory laps. You know, this isn't really a sprint. This is more like a marathon, right? So you need policies that are implemented, and then you need data to show that success or the failure of the implementation. And then we need to course correct if anything is wrong. That's what I want to try to do on the board.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah, just a personal note, my boys have had very diverse abilities and interests, ranging from one requiring an IEP, individualized education program, to another excelling in some subjects. So I really think that what we want to do works for all of them, all students, those who are struggling and those who are more advanced as well.
Yeah, as you know, Noel said, look, we have made a lot of changes. And I'm proud of the changes and I stand by them. However, this is about continuous improvement. So yes, we will assess the data at the end of each term. We're going to look at how things are going. We're going to get input from everyone, and we are going to continue making adjustments. I think the journey has started. That's what I'm proud of, and that's what I want everyone to take away. We are not done by any means. We're not taking a victory lap. We are starting the journey on the way to greatness.
Right?
Sure. So my organization I work for is what I call a learning organization. That is what we should be as a district, constantly learning and growing and changing and listening and meeting those needs. It's great to set policies and put things in place, but we got to constantly learn from that, look at the data, and keep changing and growing together.
All right, we are halfway there. We finished 4 questions. We have 4 more to go. Christian, you will be going first. There appears to be misperceptions amongst the community regarding students with IEP and 504s. What would you do to support students with IEPs and 504s in our district and help dispel some of those misconceptions?
I had not read the question in advance, so it was just by chance that I mentioned that. You check. No, look, I believe my personal experience is that IEPs and 504s programs are welcoming for students who need them, and I don't see any particular specific issue to fix there. I assume this question comes from some comments made on one of these WhatsApp forums, but I don't think we have to answer to every stuff that is posted there. What I can say is that because this is linked to the stress and the discussion we have about class advancement. Some people believe that it's only concerned about the best students. My experience is that it's exactly the opposite. That the current system where students of very different abilities have to sit in the same classes is hurting the more struggling students than the best one. And that's what I want to make progress on this issue as early as possible.
Okay, so look, I was a special ed student, so and I'm very grateful for what I got. And I will tell you, Millburn has an amazing special ed program here. It is incredible. And because I can't thank the teachers in Boston, I will thank everyone here in this building and in this district for them. I think IEPs and 504s are they're based on unique personal needs. Every student has a personal journey, and these are going through rigorous medical assessments. It's a really important choice for the parent and the student, and I fully support it. Whatever we can do to unlock the door for our students, we need to do that. And fortunately, we're at a district where we have all the resources to offer that. So I don't know what the misperceptions are. I am proud of the special ed program we have at Millburn, and parents and students who need to avail of that service, I'm glad we have it to offer them. Thank you.
Well, of course, I concur with everybody who said. To me, I myself also had an IEP when I was a child. One of my kids has an IEP. I know for a fact that there were many, many more students than you probably think of that have IEPs and 504s in this district. It is a good sizable budget. It is a huge, huge help to those students and to the parents. I couldn't imagine, my wife, I can imagine doing it on our own, right? Throughout the years without the additional support from the school district. But again, it's in partnership, right? The parents working together with the educators to help that child in the 504 IEP to be successful, to learn and to grow and to be self-sufficient over the years with that support. To me, it is a vital, necessary, needed thing to ensure that these children are successful and become more independent and become confident in their abilities. And these programs help that child to become that contributing person that adds to society instead of takes away. So I'm proud of what we do here in this district to support those students and the parents so they become successful.
So similar to Asaf and Brian, we have 3 children and they run the gamut from a ton of APs to one that has IEPs. So in my experience for over 15 years, I couldn't be more thankful and appreciative of the services that are provided to IEP son. And I do think that there are certain policies that the board should be thinking about to further aid and support lifting up all students. So for example, in the high school, if you have an IEP of 504, depending on what level, if it's CPD, CPA, or Excel, the rigidity of the system, say it's, for example, it's a CPD IEP student, the rigidity of the system doesn't allow you to move up to a CPA level unless you have an A average. And, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, we should try to lift every student up. So maybe that shouldn't be as rigid as it is. In the same regard, the weighting system, in terms of comments that I've heard, both colleges look at CPB and CPA identically. A lot of them, they say it's a CP course. And I've heard stories where CPA students go down to CPB in an effort to maybe take a course that isn't as difficult. And I think that might even crowd out IEP students.
Just a comment, a general comment that there is a culture in our school that students are competing against each other. I think this idea couldn't be more wrong. And I think that at the board level, we have to do everything we can to kill this culture. Our students are not competing against each other. If they are competing against someone, it is the rest of the world.
I want to look in the camera and say something to the families and children that might be watching this. Know this, you may have an IEP today, you may have speech therapy, and next week I will be speaking at a conference of 1,000 people on generative AI. That is the future. Know this, you may need help in reading, as my report card said, and you can go to Stanford. That is the potential and power of you. And that's what I want to say to all the students. Thank you.
So going to like how we can help dispel this misconceptions, I think goes to One Millburn, that initiative that was started a couple years ago, which I'm proud of and that we all should support and focus on, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think it's critical to follow that path for all students, whether you have IEPs, 504s, or from a diverse background. Again, we all are part of the same district, we'll all be working together and achieve the same goal.
Again, I'll just touch on policy again really quickly. Mental health and student health is critical. Policies that we have in place for IEP students, CPA, CPD, Excel, any level student in the high school, any level student in the middle school, they should all be supportive of a student's mental health.
Question 6. Let me start with Asaf. This is the senior year of the inaugural class of Washington School. The last 8 years have also seen substantial changes at the middle school. What do you think is the most beneficial improvement made these last 8 years? And what would you like to see still to come?
Sure. So let me talk about, and my son is 11th grader. So he was the second batch going through Washington School. And then he went through the middle school. I think, first of all, one of the beneficial improvement in the last 8 years is actually the creation of Washington School. You may remember it was called the 5th Grade Academy. What a great name for it. It's an opportunity to take all the elementary kids, bring them all together for 1 year to start to, use lockers, change classrooms, and get used to the faster pace of a middle school. I think that was an amazing beneficial improvement. And I applaud the district and whoever at the time thought of it for putting that in place. In terms of the middle school, I think the middle school has implemented block scheduling. My son kind of caught the tail end of it. Again, preparation for a rigorous high school curriculum, preparation for mentally, being ready and tuned in for a longer block of time and kind of getting that maturity. So I think the block scheduling and the creation of the Washington School are two of the amazing improvements. I will talk about what I'd like to see in my follow-up.
Exactly what I was going to say. So I'll talk about something a little bit different. So the Washington School, clearly there was a need for additional school building. And the question was, do you do another elementary school or like a 5th grade? I think they made the best choice to go with that 5th grade school for a number of reasons. One, it really helps logistically work with the other 5 elementary school districts to allow those spaces and reduce the redistricting of the throughout the district. Because no one likes that, right? You're in one district one time, then you have to shift things around to replace all students somewhere else. So you have to shift and go somewhere else. So this was the best move the district could have done, to ensure you keep all children in that same district and allow that growth within those elementary schools. So that was a great move for set up Washington School to allow for that. For the middle school, I think the middle school is very well run. I also appreciate the block scheduling to give that additional time for learning and growth and focus for the students. And that's not an everyday thing, that they have some breathing between the classes. So I think that really preps them for high school and for college. In addition to that, there could be greater better pathways within middle school to prep them for high school. So I think that's something we should look into and allow them to achieve that, and to be ready for high school as they move through middle school.
So I forgot to mention earlier that I have worked for the past 25 years in a large financial services institution. And we deal with clients, ultra high net worth clients specifically. So you have to realize, to work with clients for that period of time very successfully, you have to have a customer focus, a client focus. Where I'm going with this is, I have to go with the quote, actually. It's by a hockey player named Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if everybody knows hockey or Wayne Gretzky, but my daughter's boyfriend was telling me this quote. He was actually the #1 scorer in Millburn High School's history. So he knows hockey. He said to me, 100% of the shots you don't take, you miss. So my point in explaining all that to you is, this past Board of Education has made changes that I think are dramatic. And I think they're going to improve our school district. They took a chance, they took an opportunity to improve things. Is it entirely going to work out? We don't know. It has to be measured. Everything has to be measured. It's an iterative process for improvement. But importantly, they listen to the customers, they listen to their clients, they listen to the community. For that, I commend them. And I also think, when I look back over 20 years, we came from a period of nevolution to revolution, and I hope we can get back to evolution.
Thank you.
I'll focus my answer on what I'd like to see in the future. Relating to grading, I think that something has to be done at the middle school level. I believe that the return of tests to the home and the philosophy of learning from one's mistakes that has been discussed for the high school, it would be crucial at the middle school level. I think that access to Excel classes also at the middle school should be less rigid. I strongly advocate as a short-term measure of introducing what exists in other districts, which is the possibility for parents and students to have a 1 waiver per school year. So if you don't have, even if you don't have the necessary grade, you can decide to challenge yourself and move in an Excel class. And lastly, I think we should start working as soon as possible for the middle school level on mathematics pathways. It has been said several times that we have to improve math pathways. It starts at the middle school. And in terms of process, other districts offer many inspiring examples that our district would want to follow.
Yeah, I would actually like to quickly follow up. I think for the middle school, there are 2 areas. One is math and STEM pathways, and some of my colleagues have talked about it, so I'm not going to use time. I am passionate about sports, middle school sports. And the problem is, we're kind of hemmed. If you look at the middle school, we're hemmed in there between the street and the train tracks. So we'd like to look at, maybe we can work together looking at other elementary school fields that the district has access to. Maybe start girls soccer and boys soccer. Start with a couple of middle school sports. I have talked to some middle school students and they would love to do that. Thank you.
This is for my benefit of my daughter, Emma Lawrence. She just came to a board meeting and talked with some of her friends that we need in the middle school, certainly middle school and in high school, classes to teach sign language. People to learn what that means and to help communicate with people that can't speak for themselves. So that change I would like to see as well.
Yeah, so, talking about big improvements, I think you've heard a few of them here tonight. For example, we've talked about block scheduling, right? So block scheduling, I think everybody knows, in the middle school has a shorter period of time. And if you don't know, in the high school, it's 82 minutes. That was a topic that came up last year. And, I think it was called the big improvement, but I would actually re-explore the time length for block scheduling in the context of teachers, how they're able to teach in the education, and student stress.
Fantastic. So we're going to throw you No need to turn the page. We're gonna do a little curveball here.
Okay.
Okay, so question 7 will be the following. Can you talk about the changes at the high school over the last few years? How do you feel about what has been accomplished and what do you still see as a need? Brian, you will be going first.
So I don't already touch upon this, but some things we've accomplished. We added another guidance counselor to the high school, which was fabulous, something that we all saw that was needed to help prep and support students when they're applying for colleges and help them through that journey. That was critical. Greater open AP access, that was really successful. And again, we have further to go, and we need to do more to lower that to open greater access to advanced classes. So that's really important. Again, we did most recently we did the assessments and the grade changing the weighting of the final grades, GPA. That was really helpful from advancing to applying for university. So we're all on the same pattern, the same page. So that was really critical. And now what we're doing now and moving forward is again talking about grading fairness and making sure that the abilities of the students are aligned to the actual grades.
Yeah. So, everyone likes to talk about AP access. I would rather talk about AP enrollment. To me anyway, the whole point of an AP is to gain a college level advanced credit. And I still think that even though we've made progress, I think there's more progress to make. In fact, this year I saw that the increase in enrollment's gone up. I don't think the data is actually available or known just yet, but the access was explained to have doubled, meaning like the qualifications of the individuals that could get into the AP courses is doubled. The enrollment, I think, went up 20 to 30%. So I'm not criticizing. I think it's actually incredible, right? I mean, we have, again, the best teachers, the smartest students, the most involved parents. I think that's tremendous progress, but I would want to shift the focus on to things like, why not look at the number of students that are taking the AP test, but don't have access to the AP course, right? I mean, that's kind of like along the lines of equality, equity, student stress, us versus them. All these things could be handled through policy.
I had mentioned 5 items that have been partially previously discussed. First one is grading. I think even if we have new grading guidelines, we are not there yet, and there is still work to be done to go where we want, which is consistent, among other things, consistency of grading among teachers in Millburn, and consistency with the rest of the world through standardized tests. Second, class access. Short term, I would encourage the MHS to copy paste the other district policy of allowing a one-way waiver per school year policy, which allows students, as I said, to move from non-Excel to Excel classes or to AP classes, allowing students to challenge themselves if they want to, even if they don't have the grades. Expanded opportunities, immediate review of AP prerequisites, review of option 2 guidelines, which I think were good finds. The first step are the most rigid that I have ever seen in New Jersey, and a signature of at least one dual enrollment agreement. Other issues, STEM education, and lastly, and don't get me wrong, I believe we should also the district should also start considering succession planning for our esteemed MHS principal, because time flies, and at some point it will happen.
Okay, great. If I understand the question, let me talk about what we've done and what I'm proud of and what's more to be done at the high school. Look, I'm proud of all the changes we made recently. I think Brian mentioned them. The new GPA scale, opening AP access, the reassessment policy. Let me talk about opening AP access and why that's important. If you have, think of where you were a year ago. If you had a student and she wanted to go into medicine, her entire career may hinge on a qualifying exam for AP biology. Now, the qualifications are clear. It's based on your grades. You know that going in. So we're very proud of that. There's a lot more to do. And let me talk about a game changer for college admissions. Colleges are looking not only at your grades, they're looking for what are you doing outside of your high school. They're looking for a multi-dimensional student. So I am currently talking to CEOs, board members, and executives at well-known local companies. They haven't agreed, so I can't give their name, but we want to create opportunities for our students to have mentors, to have internships, and to have projects with these well-known institutions so they can learn and they can talk about them at their college interviews. That is a really important next step for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. Another thing I'd like to see change in high school is some students are turned away from taking the AP testing because not enough space or support for that. That's something we need to do a better job on and work together to make sure there's ample enough space and support to make sure any students who want to take the AP test is able to and have access to that.
It's a 30-second follow-up.
I'm not going to go into retesting. Listen, I think we have all heard about transparency, communication, and governance. From a policy perspective, I think, again, this current board has made tremendous strides in improving what I've seen for the past 20 years. My expectation is, with the right leadership, both at the superintendent level as well as with the board members, we can continue that positive momentum.
Just to mention that on Christian Germa for BOE.com, I have a comprehensive comparison of AP prerequisites at MHS and college board recommendations in terms of prerequisites. I encourage you to look at that because that would lead to a lot of changes and improvement in our high school.
Two quick follow-up. I agree with Noel in terms of AP access versus enrollment. The access is open, enrollment isn't there. We need to look into that. We need to encourage that. Absolutely. And I agree with Brian on the AP testing space. So let me explain. There are rigid requirements of spacing. Because our high school is still in session, we don't have enough vacant classrooms available. We on the finance committee are working very, very hard to find a solution so that any child that wants to sit for an AP test will have space to sit for it. Thank you.
And now for some exciting news. This is question number 8. Go ahead, skip ahead to.
Yeah.
And it's a long one, so I hope you really pay attention.
So it's 8 minutes.
Let's start with Noel. What do you feel the One Millburn initiative accomplished?
So I'm an old timer here. I wouldn't believe 20 years ago that I would have been saying that right now. But when we first started in Millburn with the children going through the school system, we had anti-bullying policies. We had anti-bullying incidents. We had HIV. We had all these things that now I think, as a community, we've come together to address things like diversity and inclusion. And I think One Millburn, at least as far as I've seen it, has really encapsulated what we as a community want to represent. I do think, however, there are important things to consider. One is the actual enforcement of One Millburn policy. So, for example, if there is a violation of the One Millburn policy, what does the school actually do? How does the superintendent follow up? I know there are guidelines and everything, but last year, just almost to the eve of tonight, we had a significant event with Israel, and a lot of the community members with relatives or friends or second, that type of thing requires additional consideration. And I would hope that the One Millburn initiative has the enforcement mechanisms to really put One Millburn in place.
Recent years have seen significant efforts and to enhance our students' well-being. And I believe that it's vital that we continue and that we expand these initiatives, and One Millburn is one of them, to help our students grasp that bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism has no place in our schools. And so I believe that the job that is done by both volunteers and the school is to be continued. If I can take advantage of this question to stress that in my mind, there is a strong connection between well-being issues and flexibility in our educational system. And I strongly believe that we have to work on that actively as soon as possible.
Sure. I believe the One Millburn initiative is a start, but we have more to do. As Noel mentioned, it's a year and a day from a terrible attack and terror on the people of Israel. And I think it's not enough to say anti-Semitism is wrong. It is wrong. It's always wrong. There is never a political context or anything that makes it right. But I think we need to go beyond that. I think when I was in high school, we had a world religion seminar where we learned about each religion, and we learned about the culture and the value and the perspective of each religion and what it brings to humanity. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to, yes, One Millburn is a great start. We have slogans and certain things we can say. We need to go deeper. We need to understand each other's culture. We need to understand our history as a people, and then see the humanity that we all share in this great community. That's where I think we can do a lot more.
Right?
I'm definitely proud of the One Millburn initiative. I think it's a wonderful concept, and I love the oneness, right? We're all one, we're all in it together. Like I said, it takes a village, one village, which is made up of many parts, but it's the one that really makes a difference. And really focusing on the culture of the district, culture of the schools. It's so important for every student to feel that they're seen, heard, and valued in the schools. No matter what the background is, where they come from, if they have IEP or if they're AP students, we're all one, and we all are in this together. So I think we need to continue the awareness campaign, make sure people are aware that it is not acceptable, right? To create these challenges out there. Not acceptable to treat one another differently. We all got to be treated the same and be supported and be successful in those schools. Throughout the whole school district, elementary, middle school, and high school, and support that journey in a very positive, meaningful way.
Thank you, Brian. Noel, would you like to follow up?
Sure. So we're like 28 days away from an election that it's going to be hard to say, let's bring everybody together. I think it's going to be actually somewhat polarizing. But, the point of One Millburn, and I think the point of community and of local level is to bring people together. The diversity that we have in this community, the strength that we get from that diversity, we should all be leaning on that so that we improve together as a community.
Christian, would you like to follow up?
Yeah, just we mentioned some similar objectives and goals during this conversation. I personally encourage the board, if I get elected, to create a Board of Education ad hoc committees as is possible, to focus and engage with both constituents and especially the community and the teachers on those issues that we mentioned.
Yeah, so again, as a follow-up, I believe One Millburn, it's a good start. I'd like to see more events, but I actually would like to see something programmatic across all of our schools where we build an understanding of each other's culture and religion as kind of a foundation of basic humanity.
So just to mention about what happens within the school district when something does occur, there's a state regulatory process if, the harassment, intimidation, and bullying The school district does a wonderful job following that. As board members, we've been a part of that process. So I can tell you, there's a strong focus on that within the whole school district to ensure that no kid feels that they're harassed, intimidated, or bullied, and it's taken very seriously throughout the district.
Thank you, everyone. We have reached the end of the evening and we are going to start our closing statements. Thank you again to our community and to our candidates for your willingness to serve. It's time for your closing statement. As a reminder, you have up to 2 minutes. Christian, we will start with you.
For years, our community has consistently voiced similar concerns, and they were expressed again tonight. Fair grading, flexible pathways, class access, student health and well-being, and strengthening STEM education. The changes initiated by the Board of Education since last January are important steps in the right direction, and we must continue to build on them. I'd like to close this meeting with a sense of unity and a call for unity. I don't claim to have all the answers, and I fully recognize that the board is a collaborative body working with many constraints. It is crucial that we come together as a district to collaboratively shape policies and ensure broad support for their implementation. I look forward to working with my future fellow board members and our new superintendent to drive these important changes forward sooner rather than later. I am confident that with thoughtful and determined leadership, Millburn can continue to be one of the most desirable districts for both students and educators alike.
The past hour and 15 minutes shows the greatness of America. Two things: participatory democracy and community engagement. Thank you for both. That's what makes America great. Now let's make Millburn the greatest district and the best district in this great country. I am proud of all the changes we have made with the board, and we have a lot more to do. I've spoken to many students, actually. You talked about customer I've talked to maybe about 50 Millburn high school students and some Millburn middle school students. Every high school student I have spoken to appreciates where we're going. I asked some middle school students about elementary sports, middle school sports. They were friends of my daughter. They all screamed so loud that I almost drove off the road. They're excited. They want to play soccer, okay? We have a lot more to do. We want to work on pathways for STEM and coursework, as many of my colleagues have mentioned. I talked about middle school sports. I talked about elementary counseling. We need to build a strategic plan. This doesn't come free. It doesn't come cheap. It's not easy. If we all work together on a mission statement and a 5-year plan or a multi-year plan to get there, think of how great it would be. By the way, there's another benefit to building a plan. We've talked about there are some divisions in the community. Imagine if we get all the students, teachers, and parents, or a representative sample. What if we all work together towards a common purpose? Make Millburn #1 so that we are not talking at each other. We're all working together to make this the best school district in America. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As we wrap up, I want to reaffirm my unwavering commitment to serving the Millburn community. My experience as president and CEO of a nonprofit organization has uniquely equipped me with the skills necessary to manage budgets effectively, plan strategically, and advocate passionately for students' needs. I understand the critical importance of fiscal oversight and strategic planning, ensuring that our budgets align with educational goals for each student to thrive while maintaining our stable class sizes. Collaboration and transparency are the heart of my approach. I believe that building trust within the board and encouraging community involvement are essential for collective success. I am dedicated to listening to your concerns and incorporating your invaluable feedback into our decision-making process. If entrusted with your vote, I will work tirelessly to champion my student-first initiative, ensuring that every decision made prioritizes the welfare and success of all children. Together, let's create a thriving educational environment that not only meets but exceeds the expectations of our community. Thank you for considering me and my candidacy for this re-election to the Millburn Board of Education. I look forward to the opportunity to continue this vital work for students, educators, families, and schools. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. This is my first time running for the Board of Education. So hopefully I've been clear tonight about qualifications, my drive, my desire, and my hope that we can continue to lift all of our students up. If I win, or if I get elected, I want to be elected for what I say, what I think, and what I think I can achieve. So with all of that in mind, I know that my qualifications, I've explained briefly tonight. I could talk to anybody further if you have any interest to learn more. But I also know that I have to ask you to check box 3J if you wanted to vote for me. And you know, that's what, that would be a vote for me, but you do have the opportunity to vote for 3 members of the board. Additionally, there was a board member that resigned less than a month ago, and her seat is actually open. My intent is to actually apply for that seat, so that as opposed to being elected in January, I also have the potential to be reviewed by the current board to potentially fill that seat as early as November 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. And to start, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our candidates for stepping up to the plate and being willing to put in your time and effort into our fabulous community. I also wanted to say thank you to the PTO presidents, the PTOC executive board, who have been here helping us make this work, and the Ed Center staff, who have been just absolutely instrumental in making sure all this happens. Also, the current and formal BOE members from many years ago, even, for everything they've done to keep our district where it is. We're really fortunate to be a part of such a vibrant and engaged community, as is evidenced by the number of people who came out on a Tuesday night when you could be definitely doing something else, probably a little bit more fun, and being an incredible audience, patient, listening, and being a part of this. We really appreciate you. Thanks again for showing up, and remember to vote. Have a great week.